What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Half Street High Heat, episode 10 of season 4. I am Nick. You can follow me on Twitter at NatsMoose, and I am joined by my colleagues and friends and co-hosts and all the above, Ryan and Trey, as we wrap up ranking season, talking about pitchers. We are going to cover the majority of the episode. Will cover the starting pitching, but we will touch on the relievers at the end, show some love to some of the best relievers in the game. But be sure to follow them on Twitter at WeAreAllShack and at reverse 2 R's 2 S's because they are great follows. Fellas, how we doing tonight?
Hanging in there with Rizzo's lack of moves, just kind of watching the season go down the drain.
Yep. Well, I mean, I announced the Nats were dead on the last episode, and since then, I don't think they've won a game.
Not been revived.
It's spring training, but like they're 1-8. They've scored a total of 28 runs in 9 games. It's a pretty good indication of things to come. Like spring training stats usually don't matter, but I mean,
in this case,
the writing is on the wall there, my friends. So the Nats are dead. I guess. Luis Garcia officially optioned to AAA. That was kind of big news. The Nats continue to make PR signings, most recently signing Tyler Clippard. Granted, it was a non-roster invite, but knowing the Nats, he's going to make the roster. So yeah, that's just, a blast right now. And Ryan, I'm sure you're loving that, all the PR moves.
Yeah, I'm just not commenting on them. There's certain players' names that I have not mentioned on my Twitter account, and there's certain players' names I will not mention the rest of the season. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about the matter.
That's fair enough. But one thing I do want you to comment on, we got some breaking news over the past week or so since we recorded last. The Shaq's no reason player he hates for 2022 was announced, and that was Nelson Cruz. Shaq, obviously, this is your list. It is very popular, but also very damning. The history is not on the player's side when it comes to the player you irrationally hate. Why Nelson Cruz and why now?
I don't know if you guys can hear, but Finn is currently having a conversation with himself right now.
Well, because he hates Nelson Cruz too.
Yeah, he's trying to chime in.
This is my favorite time of the year. It gets a lot of interest and a lot of fun. This was a very important decision. I've gone Michael A. Taylor, Adam Eaton. 2020, I went to Asdrubal Cabrera. It doesn't really count. 2020 was weird. And last year was the best year. John Lester picked him, and we know how that went. Lester completely caved under the pressure of me picking him as a player I'm going to hate for no reason. And he couldn't handle it so much that he flipped everyone off on his way out. Looking at the roster this year, picking my guy for who I was going to hate for no reason was kind of tough. Half the team I was looking at probably wasn't going to make the roster.
Or deserved it.
Exactly. Or there's a lot of people who are going to be DFA'd, not going to make the roster. There's also a lot of people on the team who had a lot of reason not to like them. So in reality, I was kind of picking from 5 people. And I was thinking to myself, who is funny enough because they're so well liked that everyone's going to react to it. And he's probably going to be traded in July, fuels my narrative. And that was just Nelson Cruz. So Nelson, I am your biggest hater this year for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Kind of by process of elimination, but hey, that's all right. It's the best way to get there.
Yeah, it's kind of like the last guy standing. There were no other options. Congrats, Nelson. That's what Mike Rizzo was signing you up for. And with all these lies, not only were they not going to be a competitor, you are also going to be hated irrationally by some of the most prominent Nats fans on social media. So congratulations sort of to Nelson Cruz on that prestigious title. he can have that in his illustrious career and for his new team for the second half of 2022. But I don't think the other big news, and it's sort of a PR move, so it kind of goes along the lines of what we were talking about, but Cardinals brought back Albert Pujols, which I thought was pretty cool. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Love it. I'm really happy that he is signed somewhere. I just wanted Sorry, I fell for a fake account right now. But I wanted him to sign somewhere just because I want to watch
Nelson
him on
Cruz
the 700
believer.
race. he only needs 21 more home runs, get 700, and the Cardinals cheat, so he should probably get that this year.
Yeah, the devil magic.
The Cardinals devil magic, man, makes no sense. But even cooler, Yadier Molina, Albert Pujols, and Adam Wainwright are all probably playing their last seasons. And they're all playing together in St. Louis. So that's pretty cool to watch them go out as well. And we're going to be history watching all year because, like I said, he only needs 21 more home runs before he gets 700.
Yeah, that's an example of a PR move gone correctly, like without severely hindering your team or just, strictly being a PR move. Like Albert Pujols has a legitimate reason to still be playing. And there was some, I don't know if it was MLB Network or whoever was showing his stats against left-handed pitching in particular, and he still hits them very, very well, even at, who knows how old he is. There was that, the clip that came out that kind of contradicted how old he said he was. But even at this age, he's still hitting lefties at a very high level. So he has something to provide with the DH and the NL now. Trey, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I'm a huge fan. It's we had it with Zim. Obviously, a lot of fans were very attached to Zim, who stayed for a long time. And then you get Wainwright and Molina, both are like that. And then you get, literally the best player in the organization's history to come back to retire. I think Cardinals fans are going to be shedding a lot of tears come the end of this season. But I'm sure that they wouldn't want it any other way.
God, Ryan said it too, but Wainwright, Molina, and Pujols all having their final swan song, final home series of the year. That's going to be must watch. Even if you're not a Cardinals fan, that's end of an era. But pretty cool to see goodbye the Cardinals, and good for Albert Pujols getting another shot to hopefully make some history.
Hey, did y'all see the contract, by the way? He has some funny incentives. He has like what? He has like an MVP incentive and like a batting title incentive and like all these things. He's definitely not going to get, but he could make $1 million more if he does all that. So
shoot your shot. Why not? Yeah.
I just thought it was pretty funny.
It'd suck big time if you like did have MVP season and then you didn't have any incentive, at least financially to do so. So hey, I like it. I respect it. But let's get into our rankings. As I said at the top, we are wrapping up ranking season, combining pitching all into one, but focusing on the starting pitching candidates today. Sorry, OPT. I offered Steven Strasburg for Shohei Ohtani, and it got denied. So that's my short little segue. But starting pitching, we're going to do
like a good trade to me.
I thought it was fair. I don't know what this guy's thinking, but his loss. But yeah, starting pitching, we will tackle the top 10 tonight. So let's get right into it. Number 10 let me preface again, as we've been doing all ranking season long, Ryan and I have our composite list. That's going to be the 1 through 10 you hear. Trey has his list. He's going to agree or disagree and provide reasons as to why. So that's how we'll be doing and continue with the pitching rankings tonight. So number 10, we have former Nat Lucas Giolito coming in on our rankings. Ryan had him number 8. I did not have him ranked, but he certainly was an honorable mention. If you're looking at his 2021 season, he had a 4.3 WAR, 11-9 record, 3.53 ERA, 178 innings, 201 strikeouts with a 1.1 WHIP. Very, very solid numbers. And just these, I'm not going to say lower tier that it makes it sound terrible, but that kind of bottom third of the top 10 rankings, there's a lot of guys in consideration. And like I said, Lucas Giolito is certainly a honorable mention candidate for me, despite me not having him ranked. He's been solid ever since the time of the trade. It sucks that the Nats couldn't shorten his arm cycle effectively like that. That's really the big change that the White Sox made for Lucas Giolito. Obviously, it probably wasn't just that, but he's had a lot of success there ever since. The 2018 season was rough, but if you exclude that season, it's been pretty solid for Lucas Giolito in the South Side. Ryan, you had him number 8. What do you like about Lucas Giolito so much?
Yeah, I'm a big Lucas Giolito fan. Former top prospect for the Nats, got traded for an absolute bum. The White Sox just let him work through his issues. 2018, he was the worst pitcher in baseball. He had an ERA over 6, gave up 118 runs. Everyone thought he was a bust, but 2019, 2020, and 2021, he has turned the corner and he has been consistently good. He has finished top 11 in the Cy Young race in the American League the last 3 years. 2021 was the worst year of the last 3, where he came 11th. But like I said, he's consistently good. He's going to eat innings. And if you're having a 3.5 or below ERA in the American League, that's rather good. He had a 3.53 ERA, and that was 5th best in the American League. Baseball average last year for all pitchers, including relievers, was 4.3. So he's well above league average, or well below league average. Excuse me. Giolito's seen a lot of success, and that's a lot in part because he's throwing his slider more. He has a 38.3 whiff percent on his slider. He also has a whiff percent over 35 for 3 pitches. His run value is also elite on his slider at -9, and it's even better on his changeup at -11. When you look at it, guys aren't hitting his slider well either. They're only batting 173 against it, and guys only hitting 200 against his changeup. All in all, Lucas Giolito is young. He's going to be a perennial Cy Young candidate. He's going to continue to be an all-star, and kind of wish the Nats hung on to him. It did work out for the Nats in the end, but Lucas Giolito is a very good pitcher, and he's only going to get better.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the point about how young he is, because everyone remembers the it was brief, but everyone remembers his time with the big league club, with the Nationals specifically. And it was, a couple games, it was like 6 games in total. It was not great, but he was only 21 at the time. And that's like very, very young for any MLB prospect, let alone a pitcher. Like, pitching tends to develop a little bit later. Look at the guys we have now. Cade Cavalli is older than that, and he's still not up. So, it was just so early to tell what Lucas Giolito really was going to be. His, 2018 season, Ryan mentioned how disastrous it was. He was only 23. So now that he's 24, 25, 26, he's really settled in. Age 27 in, historically speaking, is one of the prime years for, these top tier guys. I think he's going to really, really take a step forward, and he was already very good to begin with. So I think this might be, everyone's been calling for this Cy Young breakout type year for Giolito. This might be it. Trey, did Lucas Giolito crack your top 10?
No, I had Giolito as an honorable mention, but like you said, Nick, it's pretty tough to rank right about after that 8 spot. There's a lot of guys there. So, but I really like Giolito as well. Ryan pretty much hit on everything about his skill set, and yeah, it's pretty much just waiting for the Cy Young season. I feel like he has the potential to get to have it, and just kind of waiting for that to happen before I start rocketing him up the list, because he's only 27. Like you said, he's young, so he's got plenty of time to establish himself. He's pretty much already established himself as a great starter, but he can even elevate to another level. But yeah, he would probably be like my 11, 12 pick, but he's close to my top 10.
Yeah, certainly. There's a lot of guys, I was considering that have had that elite year, that real breakout year, but they don't have the sample size to really go with it. They haven't, performed to that high of a level for 2, 3, 4 seasons. Lucas Giolito is kind of the opposite of that, where he has the consistency, but he doesn't have that one elite year. And sounds kind of silly to say, because a 3.5 ERA is very, very good, especially in the AL, like Ryan said. But like, we're talking about that elite year, that eye-popping year, and it feels like that's right around the corner for Lucas Giolito. I mean, number 1 prospect at the time, for a reason. It seems like we're finally getting to see why. Moving on to number 9, NL East division, a rival pitcher, ace, World Series champion. Max Fried comes in at number 9 on our list. Ryan and I both had him at number 9. If you look at his 2021 season, 5.4 WAR, 14-7 record, 3.04 ERA, 165 innings, 158 strikeouts with a 1.09 WHIP. Max Fried has been quite good. He was very solid in 2019, but 2020, he was impeccable. Perfect 7-0. 2.25 ERA. He was one of the kind of outliers in that season, the wacky 2020 season, it didn't affect him at all, seemingly. Like, he was phenomenal. He carried it over, obviously, to a larger sample size in 2021. 165 innings is solid. It's not the, magic 200 threshold that, was there in years past, but it's still very solid. He's going to be a perennial Cy Young candidate, or at least a Cy Young candidate this year. Best pitcher on a good team. That seems to be Max Fried, and obviously the Braves just won the World Series and seem to, be primed to make a run this year as well. Max Fried, very, very good, lefty, crafty. I mean, also silver slugger too. So, he can add that to his resume, and maybe that's why, we ranked him in our top 10, but he's also very good on the mound as well. Ryan, what do you like about Max Fried?
Yeah, Max is a dark horse Cy Young pick this year. I really like him. He's very effective, and he does not hard contact really at all, and he doesn't walk guys. He only walked 41 guys in 165 innings. That is absurd. Going to the hard contact, he average exit velocity against him last year was 86.5. That was in the top 10% of all pitchers last year. And he does it in large part because of his curveball. He doesn't give up hard contact. Like I said, he does not strike out a lot of guys, make a lot of guys whiff, but because his off speed is so good, guys get on top of the ball way more than they should. In fact, he gets guys to get on top of it 40% of the time. That's about 8% higher than the league average. When you look at his curveball, it has a run value of -7, as a whiff percent of whiff percent of 35. He has a 43% K rate on it. Guys are only hitting 160 against it. His slider is just as dangerous, -7 run value, 2.8 batting average against it, and 27.6 K percent, which is rather good as well on 2 pitches. Like I said, he's not going to blow you away. He's not going to make you swing and miss a lot, but his off speed moves a lot, and it's dangerous that he's going to get you to ground out and have a lot of weak contact. And when your defense is as good as the Braves defense is, you're going to be a very, very good pitcher.
It's also worth mentioning, and granted, he's only entering his age 28 season, so it's not like this is anything he or the Braves have to worry about just yet, but being able to induce weak contact at such a young age and have that being such a strong foundation to your repertoire, he's going to age well as a pitcher, and he's probably going to be very consistent, because sometimes if you're relying on stuffs, sometimes the stuff isn't working. We've seen great pitchers just kind of lose it, maybe just for a year, but just because they're relying on stuff, they have those regressions. If Max Fried is doing this based off weak contact and, just mixing pitches well, typically that's going to age pretty well, and he's going to be very consistent and solid moving forward. And he's still in his prime too, so who knows, he might even get better and develop some more swing and miss stuff. Trey, where did Max Fried wind up for you?
Max Fried was in my honorable mentions as well.
Oh,
Max Fried's basically, for me, the National League version of Giolito, where they've got consistent numbers over the past few seasons. I'm just waiting for the big season. With Fried, I think he was injured for the first month or so last year, so he couldn't, get to that 200 innings threshold. But I think he's definitely capable of pitching that many innings. He's a zone filler. He attacks, doesn't give up hard contact, like Ryan said. So that should bode well for an innings eater. I think he can do it this year. And when he does do it, he's definitely going to get into my top 10 as well. But yeah, so I'm a huge fan of Max Fried as well. And yeah, that defense behind him is really good too. So pitching to soft contact, and he's striking out almost 9 guys per 9 innings. So that's a good combo right there.
Yeah, that is not too shabby. Moving on. Well, first of all, we're 2 guys in, and Trey has had them both as honorable mention. So I'm curious to see how the rest of Trey's list shakes out. I just had to mention that now in case.
I'm sure one guy that's in my top 10 that isn't in y'all's.
Yeah, but
at least
just
one.
Had to mention that if you're following along at home, Trey's up to.
They're right outside, okay, right outside, just outside.
All right, moving on to number 8 on our list. That is another NL East division rival ace star pitcher. That is Zack Wheeler of the Philadelphia Phillies, coming in at number 8. I had him number 7. Ryan had him number 10, both in the top 10, obviously. 2021 was safe to say his best season yet. 14-10 record, but it was the Phillies, so and wins are a team stat. But 7.7 WAR, 2.78 ERA, 32 starts, 213 innings, 247 strikeouts, and a WHIP just above 1. I mean, he had a phenomenal year, and I think his numbers would be even better if Joe Girardi just was like a competent manager. Like he left him out there for a couple starts that he just didn't need to, and it cost him because he's, all of a sudden throwing 130 pitches or whatever. But he did manage to have 3 complete games and 2 shutouts, which each led the league in 2021. The complete game is kind of a lost art, and I understand because obviously it's such a long season, and you got to preserve pitchers' arms, and pitchers are getting injured and Tommy John's at the highest rate ever. It's as commonplace as it's ever been. That being said, though, it is pretty cool when pitchers are able to do it, and Zack Wheeler, was able to do that last year. He was phenomenal, and it's kind of just wild to see his progression after not pitching in 2015 and 2016 with the Mets. I mean, he had 2 solid years with the Mets in 2018 and 2019 prior to signing with the Phillies, but it's crazy to see just really how he's gotten better and better each year in one way or another. And sucks to say, but he is kind of like climbing these rankings, even though I wish he wouldn't, because Phillies division rival, all that stuff. Ryan, Zack Wheeler just cracked your top 10. What do you like about him, and what gives you a little bit of pause?
Yeah, so when the Phillies signed Wheeler, it was a $118 million deal. Everyone immediately started screaming, that's an overpay. Look what he's done. He's been hurt. Now it's a bargain. That's probably the second big contract they signed that has turned into a bargain going to the Phillies. He's been damn good since going to Philly. I'm glad you mentioned Joe Girardi, because Joe Girardi cost the man a Cy Young. Granted, that's because they have a terrible bullpen. The man went out in the 9th inning with a shutout, gave up 4 runs. Things happen when you're throwing 130 pitches. But when you look at his StatCast last year, it is just everyone's dream. His exit velocity was in the top 1% of the league. His hard hit percentage was in the top 3% of the league. His fastball velocity was in the top 6%. He did not give up a lot of hard contact last year, and he got a lot of guys to whiff. That was a big thing. He was truly great last year. How good was he? I'm going to go through that, and I'm also going to tell you why I had him at 10. But when you look at his run value, he had a negative 14 on his 4-seamer, which is absolutely absurd, by the way. Guys only hit 224 against it, and he got a K percent 33% time in his fastball. His slider run value was negative 11. Guys hit under 200 against it. And his sinker run value was negative 10. He basically has 3 elite pitches that he used a lot to be efficient. The sinker get guys ground out a lot. Blow a fastball by him. Slider gets a lot of weak contact. He pitched very, very well last year, and he was very effective. He had a weak contact percent 10% of the time while he's pitching. League average is 3.7. So he did not give up a lot of hard contact. The issue is Zach's got a little bit of red flags. The workload last year seems it might have caught up to him a little bit. His fastball velocity was dropping towards the end of the season, and his spring training, which was already delayed for everyone, was delayed for him. I'm not 100% certain what his status is for opening day at the moment, but I know the Phillies were taking it a little light with him in spring training because he was still feeling it from his workload last year. That's why I put him at 10. The talent's there when he's healthy. Did the workload last year kill him? That's basically the question with him, and that's why I had him at number 10.
That's entirely fair. And you kind of asked the Steven Strasburg question. I think that's kind of a fair comp. They both had big time injuries prior to some really great years and Cy Young caliber campaigns. And then now there's injury questions again because of a new record high in workload from the season prior. I hope for Zack Wheeler's sake, it doesn't, turn into a debilitating list of injuries again, but the question does remain because 213 innings is a lot for most pitchers, let alone someone coming off, major or a history of major arm injuries like Zack Wheeler did. It also is worth mentioning, just if you look at his 2021 campaign, his FIP was a 2.59, which is extremely solid, and we haven't really talked a ton about FIP yet. I like using FIP just to kind of gauge and see how accurate the ERA might be, because ERA can be deceiving sometimes. Trey, where did Zack Wheeler wind up for you? Did we finally get a pitcher that cracked your top 10?
We did. I had Zack Wheeler at number 5 on my list. I'm a huge fan of the stuff, the innings, he has one of the nastier sliders from a starting pitcher in all of MLB right now. And he was really good at limiting, like Ryan said, limiting hard contact. He only gave up 0.7 home runs per 9. He's walking less than 2 batters per 9. So he's just going to go out there and overpower you. And there is concern. Obviously, he had a huge workload last year. But yeah, they had decent workloads in 19 and 18 as well. So I'm kind of optimistic he can come back and still probably not get to that total. I don't think most pitchers this year are going to get to high totals just because of the weird starting spring training, shortened spring training, and weird start to the season. But I'm hopeful that he can come back and still throw, close to 200 innings this season.
Yeah, we definitely shall see, and especially with opening day right around the corner, if his status is impacted. All right, moving on to number 7. We finally get our first. Oh no, just kidding. I was gonna say we get our first AL pitcher, but I forgot about Giolito. But we get another AL pitcher. I'll say that, and that is Shane Bieber. I had him number 6. Ryan had him number 7. I'll be honest. I was doing this rankings, and the way I always do it, I just do top of my head 1 through 10, and then I go back and see if I forgot anyone. I completely forgot Shane Bieber won a Cy Young. And that's not to say like I forgot how good he is. I still had him ranked pretty high, but I completely forgot about the Cy Young. It was 2020. Say what you want about that season, but he was very, very good in 2020. 2021, he battled injuries, only made 16 starts, but in those 16 starts, he's still very solid. 2.6 WARs, 7-4 record, 3.17 ERA in 96 innings, 134 strikeouts to a 1.21 WHIP. I've always liked Shane Bieber. I think his stuff is dominant. I'm hoping that the health is good now. I don't know. I haven't looked at the latest update, with his health and whatnot, but I think he is deserving of being in that conversation for best pitcher in the league. Like it's hard to when Jacob Degrom exists, but he's up there is what I'm trying to say. And I think the shortened season in 2020 due to the pandemic and then injuries in 2021 really kind of impacted the conversation and the inclusion of Shane Bieber in that conversation. But I think he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. And I don't know what Cleveland does. It feels like they're always just pumping out pitchers, but they're not as good as like a Tampa of like making something out of nothing. They're just kind of always nothing, minus 2015 or 16, whatever the World Series run was. But Shane Bieber, very, very good, deserving of all the accolades. I hope, this year he has another dominant year because he's one of my favorite guys to watch. Ryan, what do you like about Shane Bieber so much?
Yeah, the question is, what is there not to like about Shane Bieber when he's healthy? I want to say when he's healthy, he was hurt last year, but he's pretty damn good, and he's continuing the trend of forgotten stars being in Cleveland. Since 2019, he has a 2.92 ERA in the American League. That's absolutely ridiculous. He has a WHIP right around 1. You look at him, he's also a strikeout machine, 259 and 19, 122 and 20, which was basically half a season. And he had 134 strikeouts in 96 innings. I was trying to find a stat about his strikeout rate last year, but I remember in 2020 and 2021, his strikeout rate was absurd. His K percent was in the top 6% of all baseball. His whiff percent was in the top 3%. He's good. Like, he's putting up numbers like this. Yes, the American League Central is rather weaker, but when you look at the lineups that he is consistently going up against in the American League, if you can pitch like this in the American League, you can pitch like this anywhere. His slider is absolutely absurd. He had -8 run value last year. Guys hit 180 against it. He is a 5-pitch pitcher, and he had 3 of them with a batting average at 180 or lower. He was hurt last year, but he is fully healthy, and he is going to be the Guardians pitcher on opening day. And I expect him to be another Cy Young favorite. When you look at it, he's finished Cy Young 4, Cy Young 1, got hurt this year. So I expect him to be top 5 in the Cy Young for American League again, and he's pretty damn good.
He is very damn good. Love me some Shane Bieber. If only he did not pitch in Cleveland. That, it would be nice to be able to see him on, the national stage a little bit more than Cleveland has to offer. Trey, I trust you made the right decision and had Shane Bieber in your top 10.
Yeah, I went big on Shane Bieber and put him at number 3.
I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna kind of ignore the injury. Like, he actually did come back, make a couple starts at the end of the season, so that's a good sign that he, was at least able to get back to major league action at the end of the year. So hopefully he'll be playing on a normal workload, or at least close to it. It's pretty much him and Garrett Cole for me are the 2 best in the American League. Spoiler alert, guys. Garrett Cole's in my top 10, believe it or not. But I know 2020 was short, but I mean, damn, he was really good. And I remember a stat. I don't have it right now, but I'm pretty sure he was near the top of the league that season in swinging strikes, and also in, like, he got so many swing strikes out of the zone. That's the thing, is he gets a lot of swing and misses outside of the strike zone. So I'm a huge believer in Mr. Bieber, and I hope that he comes back healthy and is able to, pitch a full season again.
I love that ranking, because I truly believe, like, he could be number 3 definitively, like, without question at the end of the season. He just, like I said, needs that he's done it before, but he needs another just full healthy season of pure dominance to show everyone, like, hey, I'm still here. Like,
yeah, I didn't want to underrate another Cleveland guy like some people like to do with Jose Ramirez.
Hey, that wasn't me. I don't know.
No, not us. Hey,
okay,
not
I'm
us.
just
We're good.
Saying, there were some names will be dropped when the top 100 comes out, but no, Shane Bieber deserves all the praise. He's been great. I mean, a little bit rough in 2018, but quickly on track in 2019, and great ever since. All right, moving on through our list, we're getting to number 6. That is Brandon Woodruff of the Milwaukee Brewers. I had him 8. Ryan had him all the way at number 5. Brandon Woodruff is electric. Like, his numbers were great this past year, but like, I think back to the 2019 season in particular, because of, the wild card game and whatnot. Like, you see a 3.6 ERA and you're kind of just like, okay, that's solid, but you don't immediately think ace. But Brandon Woodruff is an ace, and 2021 proved that. His 2021 season was great. Then again, you look at the wins and losses, and it's like, damn, why can't he just have like 20 wins, so that way everyone believes he's an ace, and whatever, because people still judge wins like they're everything and whatnot. But 2021, 5.7 WAR, 9-10 win and loss, 2.56 ERA, 30 starts, 179 innings, 211 strikeouts, and a .97 WHIP. Exceptional. The Brewers' rotation is filthy, arguably the best in baseball, and Brandon Woodruff is, just as good as anyone. I mean, that, we'll talk about another guy here in a little bit in that rotation, but Brandon Woodruff deserves his praise. He's been electric. It's like he's a power pitcher, and that's, always going to be exciting, always going to be electric. Ryan, what do you like about Brandon Woodruff so much?
So Brandon Woodruff is damn good. When you look at his baseball savant, it's the stuff of dreams. He doesn't give up hard hits. He doesn't give up hard contact. He strikes out people a lot. Could be better in the walks. His fastball velocity is great. Gets guys to chase as well. But he also has 5+ pitches. I'm only going to count 4 just because he doesn't throw a slider that much. But when you look at his other pitches, his go-to are his fastball and a sinker. I love run value. Is -8 run value on his four-seamer, which is absurd. Guys hit 180 against it, slug less than 330 against it. He got a K% on his fastball 44% of the time. That's kind of ridiculous. He also got guys to whiff 30% of the time on his fastball. His sinker, -15 run value, gets guys out with that. Doesn't strike people out a lot on his sinker. That's more of his go-to ground ball pitch, and it is damn good. His curveball and his changeup are well above league average as well. Guys are hitting just 140 with a 206 slugging against his curveball. Changeup, guys are hitting 193 with a 295 slugging. Both those have a -6 run value. He's hard to hit because he's good. He would be an ace on most teams. Fortunately for him, arguably the best pitcher in baseball is on his staff. Arguably, not a strong argument, but he's damn good. And I think the Brewers finally figured out that consistency with him. 2019, he was kind of the guy I was a little worried to face in the wild card game. All-Star in 2019, All-Star again 2021. Finished 5th in Cy Young. He's going to be top 7 in Cy Young again. And he is so much fun to watch pitching. And I think he's just going to keep getting better.
Electric. Brandon Woodruff is just a dude, just an absolute dude. And still in his prime too. Like it's worth mentioning that, he's going to continue to do this. He's not like a one year wonder. He's going to be just as good and be in, strong Cy Young consideration at season's end. Trey, where did Brandon Woodruff wind up for you?
I had Brandon Woodruff at number 10, and
Here
maybe
we go.
it was because of the way my list is structured. You'll understand, maybe, well, or not, but either way, I still really like Brandon Woodruff's top 10 pitcher. Obviously, it's a combination of soft contact and strikeouts that seemingly every starting pitcher on the Brewers has. That kind of combo is just always going to be a recipe for success. I'm very excited that there's a DH in the National League, because now we get to see him and another guy in that rotation throw some more innings. I mean, he had 180, so that's pretty good, but I feel like he could go over 200. The other guy in that rotation could go over 200 if Craig Counsell lets him go. But yeah, so, maybe I underrated him a little bit, but he's still in my top 10. I think that's good enough. Also, I think all of my top 10 pitchers were in my top 50 players. So
Okay.
It wasn't like
a little bit.
Again, just like with the Brian Reynolds thing, not a huge gap. So they're still like right there.
Fair enough. All right, moving on to our top 5 in the starting pitching rankings. We get what's the word I'm looking for? The torch has officially been passed with this guy. He is officially the ace. If he was arguably the ace before, but he is officially the ace now, just announced to be their opening day starter. That is Walker Bueller of the Los Angeles Dodgers. 2021. I mean, man, like an elite season. This is the type of season we were looking for, maybe from like the Lucas Giolito. And granted, this is a very, very high bar and maybe unfair to expect from anyone, but Walker Bueller did the damn thing. 6.7 WAR, 16-4 record, 2.47 ERA, 33 starts, 207 innings, 212 strikeouts with a 0.97 WHIP. I mean, all across the board, his numbers were just awesome. And obviously, if you're going to be the Dodgers ace, you're going to pile up the wins. And I mentioned before, wins are a team stat, but it does look aesthetically appealing when you have a lot of wins and a little bit of losses. And Walker Bueller did that. He was 4th in Cy Young voting, and of course was an all-star last year. I mean, that pitching staff has pretty much always been loaded with talent. And I think it's now safe to say Walker Bueller is the best of the bunch. And it's not because the rest of the pitching staff got worse. It's just because Walker Bueller is that good. I had him at number 4. Ryan had him at number 6, comes out at number 5 in our rankings. Ryan, what do you like about Walker Bueller so much? Tightest pants in baseball. What do you like about Walker Bueller?
Tightest pants in baseball, and that boy can pull them off. Walker Bueller has really come into his own. He's been kind of the guy that everyone's saying if the Dodgers let Kershaw go, he could take over. 2018 was when he first came on the scene. Everyone loved him. He didn't get back to what that 260 ERA we saw, what was technically his rookie year, I guess. was an all-star in 2019. Bad year for him in 2020 with a 3.44. Came back, bounced back big time. 2.47 ERA in 2021, 33 starts, fourth in the Cy Young voting, 207 innings. Like I said, it's his team. He's also a damn good pitcher in the playoffs, which matters because the Dodgers, they're going to be in the playoffs a lot. He's pitched in 10 postseason innings. So he has 10 postseason series. He has 80 postseason innings and a 2.94 ERA. Walker Buehler is someone, when you look at the advanced metrics, none of them pop off the state. Like, none of them really pop off the sheet to you. A lot of his advanced metrics are right around league average. You're trying to figure out, how is he this good? And then you look at his fastball. The man's fastball is disgusting. So I've talked about run value a lot. I'm going to talk about again. Run value is when you take the run impact of a single event, in this case, a pitch, based on the runners on base, the outs, the ball and strike count, all factors that go into a pitch, and they take the value of it, with league average being 0. His fastball run value is -19. That's 19 runs better than league average. That's stupid. He throws it about 45% of the time. Guys only hit 200 against it. They don't slug well against it. Doesn't get a lot of whiff percent on it, but he just gets good, not too hard contact. Guys aren't really going to whiff on it a lot. Like, he does have great whiff numbers, but his pitches are elite. He has -9 on his cutter and -7 on his slider. Those are his 3 best pitches. He throws those the most, and the numbers show it as well. Like I said, his whiff and his K percentage isn't really eye-popping, but he's effective. He's accurate. He hits his spots, and he's kind of that guy when you're watching, when you're like, I don't know why he's mowing down this lineup right now. Kind of like Max Scherzer. Like, Max Scherzer will throw 95 down the middle 3 straight times, and a very good hitter will whiff 3 straight times. Doesn't make sense. The consistency in his arm slot for all of his pitches in late movement makes the difference. Walker has those, and he's pretty damn good because he's only 27 and he's the ace of the Dodgers. And the last ace came off the worst season of his career with a 3.2 ERA. So it was pretty big shoes to fill.
Yeah, for a guy named Walker, he sure doesn't walk a lot of people. It was right there. I had to do it. Trey, where did Walker Buehler wind up for you?
I Bueller at number 6 on my list, and Ryan busting out the run value stats really leaving me with not much to say because it's every all the numbers back it up. It's pretty much just we're pretty much just waiting for this guy to get his Cy Young. I feel like it's inevitable.
Yep.
This guy's arsenal. Threw over 200 innings last year. That's amazing. Whip under 1. Only walked 2.3 batters per 9 innings. He misses the barrel a good amount. So that's one of the things, like, where it's like, oh, he's not necessarily mowing them down, but he's still overpowering these guys because they can't square him up. And that's obviously that's a really good thing as a pitcher to not get barreled. Finished 4th in Cy Young last year. Probably could have finished higher than that in a different year, but there was some pretty insane pitching performances in the National League last year. So yeah, it's just he's one of the elites, and he's probably going to win a Cy Young soon. Yeah,
I think it's safe to say. Although it seems like every year we get guys coming out of nowhere to win a Cy Young. I mean, you look at Robbie Ray. There was no indication.
Oh yeah, by the way,
that was going to happen. What?
Yeah, tightest pants in baseball is Robbie Ray.
Oh, well, yeah, I meant to bring that up. Like, Robbie Ray is definitely giving him some competition now because Walker Buehler's are tight. Robbie Ray's are tight and too short. So it's like he's trying to one up Walker Buehler, and neither of them seem to be budging on it. I don't know how. Do you remember? I don't remember what year it was, but do you remember when the reporter asked Walker Buehler about his tight pants and he got so angry?
No, but that's really funny.
Yeah, he got like so angry about it. I'm like, I mean, a lot of people wear tight pants in baseball. Not like Bryce Harper was the guy to wear like really tight pants, before Walker Buehler and now Robbie Ray. But like, I don't understand. I don't know. Whatever. Walker Buehler, number 5 on our list. Moving on to number 4, an old friend, and at least for me, the hardest guy to project going into the 2022 season, and just got paid. I mean, again, but just got paid. That is Max Scherzer for the New York Mets, which will always sound weird. But if you look at his 2021 season, it was a phenomenal campaign, and Nats fans will remember at least part of it. 15-4 record across his time with the Nationals and Dodgers, 2.46 ERA, 30 starts, 179 innings, 236 on the strikeouts, and a 0.86 whip. I mean, he's always had great whip numbers, but it's crazy that at his age 36 season, he's still doing so. You know, he led the league in whip. Like, that's insane. I mean, you can pull up any stat you want for Max Scherzer, and it's gonna help your argument. The only thing for me here is his age. It seems like he's bound to hit a wall sooner rather than later. His velocity is down in spring training. Maybe he's just taking some off of it, and maybe he's working his way back up. But I don't know. Father Time is undefeated, and Max Scherzer has, you know, a lot of wear and tear on his arm. He's pitched more than 170 innings, you know, like, what was it, 10 years in a row? And then obviously 2020, it was less, but he still pitched 67 innings in a, you know, kind of wacky 2020 season with no real spring training, and then another 179 last year. So there's a lot of wear and tear, and he hasn't been injured much, which, you know, is good. I'm not wishing for him to be injured, but it's like, at what point does he hit that wall? Is it this year? I sort of hope not, but sort of hope. I don't know. Max Scherzer, though, very, very good. Hall of Famer, undeniably. Ryan, what are your thoughts on Max Scherzer heading into the year? You had him number 3. I had him number 5. So you're still pretty bullish on him.
Yeah, Max is Max. You know,
yeah.
When you look at it, like, there's not much I really have to say, just because we watched him for 7 years. We know the type of guy Max is. We know the pitcher is. Last year, he was second all of baseball in ERA. All of his numbers across the board were elite. When you look at his advanced metrics, there's nothing that shows you that there's any really concern for advanced metrics either. His weak contact percentage is consistent, still above league average. His solid contact is where it always is. His barrel percentage is where it always is. His run value on his four seam and slider is, you know, -18 on his four seam, -12 on his slider. Those are his top 2 pitches. His whiff percent still he had a 48% whiff on his slider last year, which is really stupid. 30% on his fastball. Again, not really much to concern about you there. A lot of people are like, oh, Max is dead. His arm's dead, blah, blah, blah. Not buying into that either. He pitched, I think, like 4 times in 10 days. You're going to be pretty tired after that. Also, he's been good in spring training. His velocity is where it should be in spring training as well. I'm not really concerned about that. You know, when you're talking about the way pitchers project, there's ace, there's front end of rotation, there's back end of rotation, and depth. There's also another one called dog, and Max is a dog. People like to talk about father time. Max is in a separate category that's very rare, just because the competitive advantage that they have. Max is a competitive freak. Tom Brady's up there. You know, Tom Brady's 45, hasn't really shown any signs of decline. Max's decline is different than other people's decline, and just how competitive he is and how much he trains, what he does, and everything is going to help fight that off. And Max is going to have another Max season this year. Not really concerned about what anyone's really saying about him, because there's nothing that really shows there is time for concern, and Max is just that guy.
So what I'm basically hearing is he's going into the Hall of Fame as a Met, is basically the gist.
You shut your mouth.
Yes. And Tom Brady's going in as a Buck. Both of them are doing that late career switch and going in with that team.
Oh man, even better than that. Imagine Max goes in the Hall of Fame with a generic MLB cap, like Mike Mussina did, like a no decision cap. That would be
should go in as a
so
Diamondback.
funny.
He's gonna go as a Diamondback.
No, I mean as a Dodger. Like he had 7 starts for the Dodgers. Oh man,
he was real good though.
Trey, where did Max Scherzer wind up for you?
I had Max at number 7, and it's, you know, there's really nothing about his stuff or his velo that's concerning about decline, but he, you know, the one tangible stat that I have is that he's thrown less than 180 innings his last 2 seasons. Two full seasons. Well, you know, hey, he was a 200 plus innings eater guy, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do that anymore. And it's just because I mean, throw that many innings at that age, and eventually you're not going to be able to do it. So I'm just a little concerned about that. But
the Dodgers. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
it's cool.
He went to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers do not let guys go through the lineup a lot recently. Like, look at Kershaw. He hasn't thrown over 200 innings in 7 years, and it's Clayton Kershaw. Like, that's kind of their thing. But
I mean, 19, he had 172, and he had some like minor bumps and bruises. He had some. I feel like he missed a couple starts last year.
It was first IL stint in 10 years or something like that. Yeah,
really the only thing. I mean, pretty much my top 7, every dude in my top 7 is basically the ace. Like one of the. I mean, they have obviously the Mets have 2. But I mean, Scherzer could absolutely blow my ranking out of the water if he is still able to throw over 200 innings. Maybe he will, because they got Buck Showalter as the manager now, so he'll just let him go. But that was really the only thing that I wanted to put him down a little bit, was just the fact that he hasn't gotten 200 innings since 2018. But if the arm if the arm doesn't have that much wear and tear, and he gets 200 innings, then I don't see any reason why he couldn't be in Cy Young contention again.
Yeah, which is insane to think about. Although, should the other guy on his team stay healthy, they might siphon votes from each other. So that might be the only thing in his way is his teammate. But we'll see. Max Scherzer, obviously more than capable of reaching that threshold himself, no matter who else is pitching with him or against him. All right, moving on to the top 3 in our rankings. Number 3, we have another New York pitcher, but from the other New York team. That is Garrett Cole of the New York Yankees. 2021, a 5.7 WAR, 16-8 record, 3.23 ERA, 30 starts, 181 innings, 243 strikeouts, pitching to the tune of a 1.06 WHIP. Garrett Cole, I mean, it's kind of fascinating to me, at least looking back on Garrett Cole's career, because he was really good in Pittsburgh. And, Pittsburgh, certainly not the team they were in the mid 2010s, and the electricity. I was just rewatching that clip. Is it Russell Martin at the plate against Johnny Cueto when the entire
I believe
PNC Park is chanting Cueto, and they get him to drop the ball on the mound, and then the very next pitch, Russell Martin takes him deep. Electric,
iconic.
I mean, that is just now you look at the Pirates, and it's just, man, it's rough. But anyways, Garrett Cole, he's been really, really good for a while. He had his 2017 season. I feel like he had a 4.26 ERA that year. He still made 33 starts. And I feel like, at least at the time, people pointed to that and saying, oh, he's not as good. He didn't live up to the billing in some way, even though he was very, very good, 2013 and 2016, and 2017 was his worst year, at least ERA wise, but still very effective, still pitched over 200 innings. And then, of course, he goes to Houston. Everyone knows what was going on with Houston, and, that's a separate conversation, but obviously very, very good in Houston. If Justin Verlander wasn't his teammate, he was probably a Cy Young Award winner, if not a 2-time Cy Young Award winner. So he goes to New York, and there's been a long list of players that go to New York and the Yankees in particular and underperform. And he's not quite as dominant as he was in Houston, but he's still very, very good. And I feel like because he's Garrett Cole, because he was on the Astros and now he's on the Yankees, people just like to hate on him. And I get it, but he's still very, very good. It's hard to argue against anything he's doing. Another punchable face, but hey, that's, it is what it is. I had him up at number 2. Ryan had him at number 4. Ryan, what are your thoughts on Garrett Cole?
Yeah, Garrett Cole is really interesting because you can kind of make the argument that he is a sticky stuff merchant. When you look at the breakdown of his season last year, he had a 1.43 ERA through April. May, he was strong again with a 2.18. All of a sudden in June, for the month of June, his ERA was 4.65. July is a 4.71 ERA. What did MLB crack down on around that time? He figured it out in August with a whopping 0.51 ERA. He gets back in the Cy Young conversation. He blows it late in the season with a disastrous September, October with an ERA well over 5. And it was a tale of two halves for him, really. First half, he had a 2.68 ERA, Cy Young favorite. Not very good in the second half, loses the Cy Young. He was bad down late in the stretch. He was bad in the AL wildcard game. It was kind of those starts when they needed him the most. He wasn't there. So the narrative around Cole is really interesting right now. Garrett Cole is a very good pitcher. I do think he is hurting from the crackdown on sticky stuff. His spin rate is down a lot. He's getting teed up on a lot more than he normally does. His barrel percentage was in the bottom 16. Sorry, it was in the 16th percentile. That's not very good. His hard hit percentage was in the 50th percentile. His average exit velocity was in the 53rd percent. He's still striking out guys in the top 5% of the league, but there's kind of some cause for concern about, is he still that elite pitcher, or was that really reliant on the sticky stuff? He's obviously still a top 5 pitcher. I have no problem putting him where I did. I just don't think you can have him in that top 3 conversation right now. I need to see another season from him without the sticky stuff and see how he does in the clutch under pressure, because he was money in Houston. Unfortunately for him, he's tied to some pretty, not some good stuff in Houston during that time. Need to see him do it this year without the sticky stuff and the big lights to help change the narrative around him, because he's good. It's just he's not the lights out guy that the Yankee fans thought they were getting, that he was when he was in Houston, and would have been MVP if he wasn't playing in Houston doing what he did in 2019.
Yeah, and that's fair. I've always been in the camp that pitchers should be allowed to use 60 stuff. And if you want to like crack down on something, you can crack down on like spider tack, but allow them to use something. That's just me.
Well, that's spider tack's what I meant.
Yeah. Cause he definitely was using spider tack, because everyone remembers the clip of the time where MLB announced they were cracking down on sticky stuff, and he was caught on camera, like just no answer, no PR preparation. Like he was caught. So yeah, there is an argument, with Cole specifically about a sticky stuff merchant, but I think a lot of guys are using sticky stuff. They probably just weren't using it to the level Cole was. So I do understand your argument. I just, I still think he's very good. And, it was up and down certainly in 2021, but you heard other pitchers like Tyler Glasnow. I bring that up all the time, and people are probably tired of me talking about it, but he says he thinks he tore his UCL because MLB's cracked down on sticky stuff. Like, it was just a common practice, and then all of a sudden MLB decided to, crack down on it, which is their right. It's just annoying, and I think that might skew the narrative on Garrett Cole, but he certainly doesn't do himself any favors by not, Ryan, like you said, performing in clutch situations, at least in New York, and he could help himself out should, he'd be able to perform in situations like that in bright lights, big city, and all that stuff. Trey, where did Garrett Cole wind up for you?
Garrett Cole was my number 4 choice. And I got to start going first sometimes so I can get my lines out, because as soon as Ryan said sticky stuff merchant, I was just like, are you serious? I was going to say the same thing. But yeah, no, I think it was pretty obvious he was using spider tack. But yeah, I don't think he's going to get back to that 2019 form, because he struck out 326 batters.
That's absurd.
Silly.
That's just like really, really good.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it may be using something, but either way, I think he'll be fine even without spider tack. He still has an electric arm. He can overpower you with his fastball. His breaking stuff's still nasty. But yeah, I don't think he's going to get back to that 2019. But even if he pitches just like he did this season, that's still a top 5, top 10 guy. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem, even though he did probably use spider tack. It's, it's not fine, but like, I think he'll be okay even without it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Also, I mean, he's playing in a much tougher division now than he was in Houston, and obviously, there's spider tack argument plays for sure. You look at the numbers, like you can tell just exactly what years he was probably using something, but it's a little bit easier when you could beat up on some lesser teams. Like the Mariners were terrible, and the A's were good, but
Rangers.
like Angels, Rangers, like it's a little bit easier to beat up on those teams. And now you have 4 teams with legitimate arguments to make the playoffs in the AL East alone. So a little bit tougher competition, obviously, for Garrett Cole, but I agree with both of you. Like, still a very solid pitcher, and I think another year in New York under his belt without at least as much sticky stuff. I'm sure everyone's still trying to find ways to use sticky stuff, but without as much sticky stuff, we'll paint a clear picture on Garrett Cole and just who he is as a pitcher. All right, moving on to top 2 in our rankings. Number 2, we have the other Milwaukee Brewers ace. I think it's fair to call them both aces, and this is your NL Cy Young winner from this past season, Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns, I mean, also, well, first and foremost, electric pitcher name. Like, just a great name for a pitcher. Like,
Such
your last name Burns. Like, I mean, Corbin, a little bit tainted for Nats fans now, but Burns, like, elite name. Last year, again, this is one of those weird situations where it's like some of the numbers don't do justice. Like, you see 11 wins, and I'm not saying I put a lot of stock into wins, but like with the season Corbin Burns you want him to have like 20 wins and just really, eye-popping numbers across the board. But I'm not trying to diminish what he did last year, because he was 100% deserving of that Cy Young. He had an amazing season, 5.7 WAR, 11-5 record, 2.43 ERA, 28 starts, 167 innings, 234 strikeouts, and a .94 WHIP. I mean, Trey, I believe you said it earlier, he beat out some very tough competition for that NL Cy Young Award last year, and he was, just as deserving, if not more, than everyone else. Like, he was awesome. And I don't want to say it came out of nowhere, like, because he was solid in 2020 as well. And, mentioned 2020 enough at this point, but like 2019, he, pitched in 32 games. He only had 4 starts, but at 8.82 ERA. So it's like, if you look at that 2019 season, you didn't expect anything like 2021 around the corner. But he has been awesome ever since the, wacky 2020 season. And I'm excited to see, how he follows up his 2021 campaign, because I'm hoping it's just as electric, if not more, than 2021, because he's electric. Like, I know I'm using that word a lot, but he is so freaking good. Led the league in FIP as well, 1.63 FIP. Like, that's absurd. Like, he is so damn good. I can't say enough about him. I had him at number 3. Ryan had him up at number 2. Ryan, why do you have Corbin Burns a little bit higher than some of the other contenders?
Yeah, so there's Corbin Burns and Jacob Degrom, and then there's everybody else. These two are right now the best pitchers on the planet. It's kind of hard to argue against it, honestly. When you look at Corbin Burns' numbers, 2019, he had an 8.8 ERA. That's the only time in his career he's had an ERA over 2.6. He is damn good. And when you look at his advanced metrics, he's 100 percentile fastball spin. He had 97 percentile with whiff, 97 with barrel percentage, 96 in average velocity, 94 in hard hit, 97 in K percent, 92 in walk percent. Like, he's not walking guys. He's not giving up hard contact. And, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was looking at his pitch usage, and he stopped using his fastball in 2020 and started using his cutter heavy more. And that kind of so far looks like the difference in it. His cutter run value is negative 21%. That's absolutely ridiculous. He had a 32 K percent on it. He had a 50.5 K percent on his curveball, and he had a 43 K percent on his slider. He also got guys to whiff 45% a time or more on 3 different pitches. Whatever way you look at it, the guy's absolutely electric. He is a absurd cutter. He has great movement, and he's figured it out for a reason. He figured out, you know what? I'm going to stop throwing my fastball so much, because he only threw his fastball 2.5% of the time in 2020 and less than 2 in 2021. And over that span, he's a 2.34. Sorry, baseball reference took a little while to load. He has a 2.34 ERA since he stopped using his fastball so much. He's figured it out. He's good. and he's probably going to, continue doing this next year just because the guy's stuff is just naturally ridiculous. Add in the fact that he doesn't really walk people either. He had 34 walks in 167 innings. He's accurate as hell, and he's pretty damn good. And I'm excited to watch him again this year.
And phenomenal pitching name, like Corbin Burns, just phenomenal pitching name. Trey, where did Corbin Burns wind up for you?
I also had Corbin Burns at number 2, and his backdoor cutter might be one of the nastiest pitches in baseball right now.
Disgusting.
And I believe it was during the Cy Young presentation where I heard him say that he discovered it by accident. So that's really funny. Just discover one of the nastiest pitches ever.
Hey, that was good. Do that again.
Yeah, just try that.
Do it again, instead of the pitch you've been using your entire career.
Yeah, and it totally worked. So that 1.63 FIP number is absolutely stupid. I was laughing at that run value number because that's stupid. I like this stat: 0.4 home runs per 9 innings as a starter who strikes out 12.6 batters per 9 innings. Might be good. And Craig Counsell, my plea to you: let your dudes throw some innings.
Let them
throw some innings. I don't care about no third time around the order when I see Corbin Burns' stuff. Like, come on, let the dude throw some innings. Let's go. He's a 200 innings guy easily if he lets them pitch. Let's go.
Yeah, just let them all go 7 minimum, and then you have Devin Williams and Josh Hader for the 8th and 9th. And good,
unbeatable.
What else do you need? Oh man, Corbin Burns, well deserving of the number 2 spot, and number 1. Insert last week's Mike Trout argument to this
Patrick
guy.
Corbin.
Insert that argument to this guy, because until someone else proves for, I don't know how long they would have to prove it, probably like 3 seasons minimum, if not more, that they are better than this guy, and I will dethrone this guy as number 1. But until that point, or until he retires, this guy's number 1, and that is obviously Jacob Degrom. Nats fans have seen him plenty. We know what's good with Jacob Degrom. Like, he has some ungodly numbers. Like, he is absurd with just how good he is. I won't bore you with the details, but it is insane how good he has been. And he was viewed as like the number 3 in that 2015 Mets pennant team, behind Matt Harvey and Noah Syndergaard. Like, it's crazy that he was viewed as the number 3, and he turned out to arguably be the best pitcher of the generation. Trey, I will let you go first since you were clamoring for it. Jacob Degrom, I trust he was your number 1.
Yeah, maybe, man. He might have been my number 1. Yeah. I mean, what do you even say about this guy? It's actually, he's just like not real. He's like not even a real person. He's an alien. He just came here just to dominate the sport. He was genetically altered to dominate this sport. It's really crazy. I watched both of his spring training outings, and in both of them, he struck out the side in the first inning. And it's like, was this guy even hurt? Like, what? Like, it's like he just walked right back out and just started doing his thing again. Like, after,
but before that, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna opt out of my contract at the end of this season," and then goes and does that. Like,
as dude he should. He's gonna get paid somewhere. But I would think the Mets re-sign him with Steve.
I hope he leaves.
I mean, me too. Absolutely, but I don't see it. But
not even for the Nats, like not even for the Nats. The Nats stink. It doesn't really matter who's pitching against us. But like, I just I just need to see the meltdown. Like, the best pitcher in baseball leaves the Mets.
DeGrom was a 5 WAR player in 92 innings.
So
I think I'm done.
He would have he would have like a 12 WAR season. I mean, if you extrapolate that over a full season, which might not be fair to do, but if anyone could do it, Jacob Degrom could do it.
I'll tell you what, before he got hurt last year, there was no reason to believe he could not do it. It was insane.
He was absurd.
I mean, we could go over numbers all we want, but just watch the dude pitch and you'll understand. If you want to talk about the eye test shows his domination.
Yeah, the good old eye test. All right, Ryan, what are your thoughts on the best pitcher in baseball?
Yeah, Jacob Degrom is not only the best pitcher in baseball, he's arguably a top 5 player in baseball. The stretch that he's on right now, his peak, which going back to 2018, he has a one going back to 2018, he has a 1.94 ERA. That is absolutely ridiculous. Jacob deGrom's peak right now is one of the best we have seen in MLB history, and that's not overstating it either. When you look at his baseball savant, the 99th percentile is good. Jacob deGrom has the 100th percentile in 6 stats. And there are 14 on the baseball savant home screen. He has 100 percentile in 6 of them. He also has 99
less than 50% washed.
3 of them. So the season he was having last year before he got hurt was one of the best seasons we have seen in baseball history. He had a 1.08 ERA when he got hurt. It took him 15 starts to get over a 1 ERA. That is the longest stretch in MLB history since ERA became a stat to get above a 1 ERA. When you also keep looking at it, he had a 0.54 whip. That's the lowest by any pitcher in the 15 start span since 1901. He had 146 strikeouts and allowed only 39 hits. He's the only pitcher since 1901 to have 140 or more strikeouts and 40 or less hits allowed in the 15 start span. He only allowed 11 earned runs. It's one of the least amount in 15 run span. And he also held opposing hitters to a 126 batting average. That's the lowest for any pitcher in a 15 start span since 1901. It's not an over exaggeration for saying that his peak is one of the best we've seen. The issue with him, and this is going to sound very stupid, but there's a lot of data that backs this up. He throws too hard. Skinny pitchers who consistently hit 100 or throw over it get hurt, and they get hurt severely. There's a lot of data that backs it up, and they have a hard time recovering from it. Chris Sale is probably the best example of that recently. Steven Strasburg was consistently hitting 100, although his mechanics put a lot of stress on his elbow. That's different, but he needs to take just a little bit off of it because his stuff is absolutely filthy. Just takes a little bit off of it because him consistently throwing that hard isn't natural, and it's a lot of stress on his elbow. He throws a 95-mile-per-hour slider. That's not normal. His slider touched 97 against the Nats last year. That's not normal. It's absolutely ridiculous. The guy is from a different planet, and I just hope he can stay healthy because what he's doing right now is just absolutely ludicrous. And him and that healthy Max is a absurd 1-2 punch. And those two right there, if those two make combined 66 starts, they're winning 90 plus games. Like, he is so damn good. And I just hope he can stay healthy for us this year.
Yeah, can't wait to face him first 2 games of the season. Like, that'll be a great
I am going to be at both. I'll see a combined
great omen for the Nats.
Awesome.
Oh, God.
Actually, real quick, it's interesting you brought up his him throwing too hard. I wonder if I watched every DeGrom start last year because I don't know about you guys, but I watch every time he pitches. I watch him every time he pitches because he's that good. But I noticed that, especially in like the first time around the order, he would just throw fastballs. Like, he would barely even mix toying with pitch. Them. And he would come, he would come out throwing 99, 100 right off the bat and only throwing fastballs. I wonder if that had anything to do with his injury, because he brought up, he's throwing too hard because he doesn't need to throw 100. He could throw like 97 and like his slider could be like 90 and he'd still be unhittable. So that's interesting though.
Yeah, it's funny how Ryan said, like, it sounds silly, but there is, legitimate, I guess strategy behind it, if that's the right word. It just sounds so weird to say, like, hey, DeGrom, what you're doing is stupid.
You're too good.
Yeah, you're too good. Scale it back. Like, it just sounds so silly, but for the benefit of the longevity of his career, like, it might help. He's going into his age 34 season. So, and not that he can't be effective, for the next 5 years or so, but it is that time where you're like, okay, that's a legitimate conversation. Is what I'm trying to say. I think it is that time where you're like, it'd be nice to have you around, for 5 to, 10 more years rather than, just 1 or 2. So I hope DeGrom, finds a happy medium where he could be very elite, but also have that longevity as well. It's kind of crazy that he only has like a 43 WAR right now. Not that that's like bad, but I just expected it to be already like 70 just because he's been that good for that long. But very clearly the number one on our list and should be the number one on everyone's list. If he's not, then you have a problem. All right, honorable mentions really quickly. There are plenty. So I had Lance Lynn at my number 10. I think Lance Lynn has been very solid. If you take out that, I believe it's the 2018 season where he split time between Minnesota and New York, like that was his worst year of his career. But other than that, he was very solid in St. Louis. He's been very solid in Chicago and was very solid in Texas. Like that sample size, I had to put him in my top 10. He's not like the flashiest pitcher. He doesn't, have a ton of swing and miss stuff, but I wanted to put him in my top 10. Julio Arias, I think, is someone, on the outside looking in right now, but someone we could be talking about more seriously at the end of the season, looking ahead to 2023 season. And then Sandy Alcantara, if not a top 10 pitcher in baseball yet, certainly a top 10 pitcher in MLB The Show. Those were the three.
Can you guess who is in the honorable mentions that's in my list?
Were you going to say Ranger Suarez?
Oh, I will talk about him. But so I actually had two players in my list that were not in the composite list. I had Alcantara at 9, and I had Robbie Ray at 8. And I can understand the Robbie
Ray one.
I can understand why you might not like that one because it was only one season. However, he made some mechanical adjustments before last season that I think are going to make this more sustainable. I don't know if he's going to be a Cy Young winner again, but I wanted to give him credit for that. And yeah, I'm obviously huge on Alcantara. I think he's going to be really good. And I think I'm going to probably bet on him to win the Cy Young. So,
it's probably,
I originally had him in my top 10, but I was just like, I don't know if I can have him top 10.
I don't think he's there yet. He'll get there, but I don't think he's there yet.
Yeah, I get that. So, but I'm just super high on this guy. I think he's going to be. I think he was already elite. I think he's going to get to an even higher level this year. Also, Aaron Nola, I had on my honorable mentions because
I don't know who he is as a pitcher. That's my problem.
Because his discrepancy between his ERA and his FIP is like
right.
He had like a 3.3 FIP or something and like a 4.6 ERA. So that's just crazy. Unfortunately, he did not get much help from the signings for his defense behind him. So I don't really know what to do with him. I think he's got good stuff, but just have to wait and see, I guess.
Aaron Nola right now is suffering from the very, very tragic issue where his fastball late life goes directly over the middle of the plate, whichever side he throws it. I'm not joking. Watch his fastball. If he's throwing it inside, it drifts back to the right. If he tries to hit the right side, it drifts to the left. Not joking. Almost every single time he throws his fastball, it just finds a way to come back over the plate. And it sucks for him because he's actually really good. Mixing the fact that his defense is going to be absolutely atrocious about him. Maybe he'll opt out and Nats could sign him for a good deal. I don't know. Maybe, please, Rizzo, please.
Does he have an opt-out?
There's not a ton of defense in DC either.
I can't.
You're starting to turn out like it.
And Michael Franco's at third base.
Yeah.
No, we didn't need to mention that.
I can't remember if it's an opt-out or an option. It's one of them. But he has a chance to be a free agent.
I'm pretty sure it's an option, if I'm not mistaken. Because didn't he sign an extension to buyout arbitration? I believe. I'm trying to look it up and fill time. Yeah, it's a 2023 team option.
But then he's unrestricted free agent after that, right?
Yeah, after 2023. Yeah, I would assume they're going to pick up that team option. So 2 years. He has the opportunity to be a free agent. So.
Oh yeah, Ranger Suarez. I want to talk about Ranger Suarez.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
Because we'll talk about relievers here briefly.
Yeah, I really like. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be a starter in their rotation. At the beginning of this year, but I honestly loved his role last year. Kind of just like the hired gun. Like, oh, you're going to get a start here, throw about 4 innings. 2 days later, you're going to come in the 8th and throw an inning. And then you're going to throw another inning out of the bullpen, long relief. He kind of did it all. And, I feel like that role is very valuable if a dude can do that, because that's just I mean, pitchers especially are all about routine. So when you're just getting thrown off your team, you're still able to, I mean, he had like a 300 ERA plus last year. It was ridiculous. So he's going to be really good for them. I'm just wondering how, if he is a full-time starter, how it's going to impact his numbers, because he was just a really interesting case study for me when I was looking over these. But he's also like 24. So that's scary.
Yeah,
that's all I had.
No, I was gonna say, like, with him, there are those guys around baseball that have that you mentioned, like a hired gun role where it's like spot start, long relief, but also can just come in and dominate for an inning, like just a jack of all trades type pitcher. And he was very good in that role. I think had the Phillies prioritized pitching, they'd be in a different spot. But now it's like they need him to be a starter out of necessity. Like Zack Wheeler should be good, but his, status is certainly up in the air. Aaron Nola, it's the results versus the stuff a little bit with him. So they kind of need that stabilizer. And I think that's what they're going to be counting on. I don't think he's going to have as good of a season in 2022, but he certainly was fun to see. And, the usage and deployment for Ranger Suarez was fun to watch in 2021. All right, let's talk about relievers really quick. We're just going to, breeze through these. Relievers are very volatile, so this list might be completely different next year, and that's why we're not spending too much time on it, but it is worth talking about because there are certainly some dominant relievers that have been doing it for some time and deserve their praise. All right, so just going through 6 through 10 really quick, starting at number 10 and working our way down. Number 10, Giovanni Gallegos. I really liked him. I've liked him for a while. It seems like he's now going to be he had 14 saves last year, but it seems like he is the guy in St. Louis. Obviously a very good team. He's been very solid throughout his career. I think, even though he hasn't had that one eye-popping, insane year for a reliever, I think he's just very solid, very steady, and that should be commended for relievers and not, penalized or in any way. Number 9, Colin McHugh. We mentioned, the jack of all trades. He's, has been a starter, has been a reliever, and kind of just does it all. Very, very good. And one of those guys is a little bit tough to rank because is he a starter, is he a reliever, but certainly deserving on one list or some recognition for Colin McHugh. Number 8, Blake Trinan. A lot of former Nats talking about today. Blake Trinan, one of those guys that if only the Nats could have really tapped into that potential prior to the trade, who knows where they might be. But Blake Trinan has been one of the best relievers in baseball for quite some time now. Number 7, Craig Kimbrell. Kind of a wacky season last year, but I think just the first half of his season, seeing that he can still do it, he does still have it, worth mentioning. And he might not be the best reliever / closer anymore, but he's still very good. Number 6, Raziel Iglesias. Closers. I love me some closers. And I think Raziel Iglesias is probably the most underrated closer, but certainly deserving of being on this list. Ryan, 6 through 10, was there anyone you wanted to highlight in particular?
No, I mean, it's just so hard to talk about relievers. Like, basically, if you're not the top 2 or 3, who knows what you're going to do every single year. Giovanni Gallegos, big fan of him, 80 innings last year, 3 ERA, but all of his other numbers were pretty solid. Craig Kimbrell is always the most interesting case. Did not really like going to the 8th inning last year, but you couldn't really make the argument that Liam Hendricks should come out of the closer role. I think if he goes back to being a closer, he'll be back in the top 5, top 4 conversation. But yeah, I mean, relievers, it's just hard to be consistent. It's a very interesting thing. Speaking of Craig Kimbrell, he had a 15.08 K per 9 last year. That's absurd. And the 0.91 home runs per 9. The guy's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. They're so tough to talk about.
Certainly. Trey, of those guys, is there anyone you had on your list, maybe higher or lower, that you wanted to talk about?
I had Tyler Rogers in my 10 spot. I wanted to give him credit for the amount of innings that he pitched last year. He pitched about 80 innings, and he had like a 2.2 ERA or something. And I also had Jonathan Loizaga at number 7. I think he's an up and coming. Did you say him? He's not on there, is
No,
he?
we did not.
Okay.
He was an honorable
Just making
mention
sure.
for me.
Yeah, no, I put him in there because I liked what he did last year. I think he's got potential to get even better. He's a young guy. But I think everybody else was the same. My top 2 are the same. I don't even know if we went over that. Sorry.
Well, no, not yet, but we will. No worries.
Okay. Yeah. Pretty sure we had
Tyler Rogers is interesting though, because I mean he was great last year. And I'm not going crazy. He's the sidearm or submariner, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure his brother is Taylor Rogers, so that's really not confusing at all.
And then there's Trevor Rogers too. So very confusing.
He's unrelated, I think.
Yeah, no, I know, but just like a bunch of T's. But Tyler Rogers is a good inclusion as well. All right, moving on to number 5. Again, just breezing through us. Emmanuel Clays, another Guardians guy that probably does not get the recognition he deserves. He's going to be, again, he had 24 saves last year, but definitely going to be the guy in that Guardians bullpen. Last year was phenomenal. 1.29 ERA, 71 games, 24 saves, just under 70 innings, 74 strikeouts, 0.6 or 0.96 whip. The dude's stuff is just, I don't know what's going on in Cleveland. I don't know how they keep doing this and pumping out pitching. It feels like, hey, if you're the Nats and notoriously struggle to develop pitching, you might want to hire people from that organization. But I don't know. Emmanuel Clays, though, like his stuff is just so good, and he was only 23 last year. Like it's just, it's insane. Like he was so good. I believe he came over in the Corey Kluber deal, if I'm not mistaken. Might be wrong on that. But very, very good guy to watch. Either of you guys have him in your top 10? Want to talk about Emmanuel Clays?
I had him at number 4.
Yeah, I think that's
stuff rating is very high.
Yeah, if you're just going off
100 mile per hour cutter or whatever he's got, I think nuts.
Right. Yeah, certainly. All right. Moving on to number 4. One of my favorite pitchers in baseball, whether you're a starter or reliever, and that's specifically because of this guy's one pitch. I mean, if your pitch has a nickname, then you're doing something right, and that is Devin Williams. The airbender changeup is disgusting, and obviously Josh Hader's on his team. We'll talk about Josh Hader here in a little bit, Juan Soto's son, but Devin Williams is so good. And I don't know. He had 3 saves last year, and that's obviously not a ton. I feel like he could be the best closer in baseball. I mean, that's probably not a stretch. His whip's a little bit higher for a reliever, but again, that changeup is just so nice. Either of you guys want to talk about Devin Williams? Trey, where'd you have him?
I had him at number 5 on my list. And I mean, pretty much what you said. Another guy with the high stuff rating, that dang changeup. He throws a screwball in MLB The Show. Just thought I'd throw that out there. I like to use it.
Does he throw one in real life? I mean, I would assume so.
I don't know, but it's in the show. And it's fun to use. It moves all around. That was my brief tangent. Sorry.
I mean, hey, if he has a screwball in real life, like that only helps the argument, because I don't even know what a screwball is supposed to do, really, like what movement it's supposed to have for right-handed pitcher.
I mean, it's kind of does what his changeup does, so I guess they just
just kind of like a dip, but his changeup is insane. Like his changeup's really good.
Yeah, I think they might have his pitch mix wrong, but
anyways, still fun to use in MLB The Show, I imagine. All right, moving on to our top 3 in our reliever rankings. Number 3 is just going over I believe he's the Astros closer. Ryan Pressly comes in at number 3 on our list. I mean, I don't know what you can really say about these, relievers that are very good, but not top 2, because the top 2 are pretty, set in stone. But Ryan Pressly was really solid. 26 saves last year, 2.25 ERA, 0.97 whip, 81 strikeouts in 64 innings. I mean, I mean, what else do you want to say? Like, he's been very consistent the past 2 or 3 years as well, especially since he got to Houston. If you want to bring up the Houston thing again, Ryan, if my memory serves correctly, you were high on Ryan Pressly entering the 2020 season. If I'm trying to like go back and rack my brain, these old Half Street High Heat episodes. What are your thoughts on Ryan Pressly?
Yeah, I think he's a great reliever. When you look at his numbers, to me, the most important part of being a reliever is your whip. 0.96 whip is rather good. Big fan of that. 64 innings pitch, a lot in high leverage situations. When you're the Astros, there's going to be a lot of high leverage situations because you're constantly in a title run, and that kind of stuff matters. 2021 in the postseason as well, he was looking rather good while pitching. I had his number right here. Sorry. Yeah. In the World Series, he pitched 3 innings and not give up a run. Was good in all other rounds as well. When you look at his advanced metrics, like some 94 percentile in K percent, he is 95 in chase rate, 100 in curve spin, 84 in whiff percent as well. He's just a great classic reliever. His slider, -13 run value, curveball -3. Those are his 2 best pitches, and he's just a good 3-pitch reliever. Has a fastball mixes in there as well. Uses it the most, but his curveball and his slider helps him get it done, and it's why he's so effective.
Yeah, I mean, again, what can you say about these really good relievers that aren't the top 2? Like, they're still very, very good. They're just not top 2. Trey, what are your thoughts on Ryan Pressly?
I also had Pressly at number 3. And like you said, Nick, he's just been really consistent since he got into Houston and into their pitching lab. Sorry. Just consistently good, low ERA, low whip, doesn't allow a lot of base runners, low walk rate. So pretty much everything you want from your best reliever.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really argue against it. He's just not top 2 because the top 2, like I said, are pretty etched in stone. Number 1 on our list is Josh Hader. Number 2 is Liam Hendriks. For me personally, Josh Hader was just doing it first, and Josh Hader has been incredibly consistent his entire career, and Liam Hendriks has been absolutely filth the past few years, but he did have a stretch, prior to his breakout year in, I believe it was 2019 was his breakout year, where it was a little up and down, some good years, some not so good years, especially for a reliever. But I mean, again, 2019 on, Liam Hendriks has been dynamite. Josh Hader's just been doing it longer. And yeah, I think Hader gets more hype than Hendriks, but they both are equally deserving of, that top reliever status set in stone. Ryan, I believe you were in agreement with me, and Trey, if I'm not mistaken, you had it otherwise. You had Hendriks 1, or did you have Hader 1? I can't hear either of you.
Oh, sorry, I had my mic muted.
Okay, I was like, I don't know if that was me.
I had Hader 1 and Hendriks 2.
Okay, all right. So we were all in agreement there. Why is Josh Hader still the best reliever in baseball?
I mean, combination of stuff and appearances, at least maybe not from last year, because
lefty too. I feel like lefty relievers are so in demand,
especially the way that he throws.
Yeah, impossible to pick up.
Yeah, but he's just been super consistent since 2018. He's able to kind of do whatever. I was talking about Ranger Suarez. Hader doesn't start, but he can pitch, whenever, pretty much, besides starting. So that's very valuable. He can go multiple innings. And I think he had the most consecutive strikeouts by a reliever, if I'm not mistaken. He had like 8 games in a row in an appearance. So that's ridiculous. As for Liam Hendriks, I mean, in terms of just entertainment value, I'm sure y'all have seen
he's fired up every single time.
The All-Star game mic'd up session where he forgot he was mic'd up. That was pretty great. So yeah, he just you talk about dog. That guy's got that dog in him. He's got that dog in him. He's a great interview, entertaining guy. And
come on the pod. Come on the pod. Love a good interview.
Dude, that would be legendary. But he's also one of the best fastballs, period, in the game.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't back down. Doesn't matter who's up there, just goes after him.
0.73 whip. Like, that's
pretty silly.
Yeah, I mean, 2020, shortened sample size, but in 24 games, he had a 0.67 whip. So quite good for Liam Hendriks. Ryan, assuming Josh Hader is, let's say he meets his career marks so far, what does Liam Hendriks have to do to overthrow him as the number one reliever in baseball?
Don't give up a home run in the All-Star game, Liam, and your career won't be viewed differently. No, Josh Hader is a really good reliever. It's just unfortunate that he's been on the mound for some rather big playoff moments that did not go in his favor. Liam, just don't do that. Like, Josh Hader is good in high leverage situations. Unfortunately, he's not the best in high leverage playoff situations. If Liam could do what he did, it'd be a little more money in the playoffs than Hader. Shout out Freddie Freeman and Juan Soto. Then he will overtake him.
Fair enough. Any honorable mentions for the reliever category?
Oh, I had Scott Barlow of the Royals.
Yeah, he was I believe Ryan had him like 8 or 9.
Yeah,
I think we actually had a tie between him and Gallegos, and we had to talk about it, if I'm not mistaken. But go ahead, Trey.
Yeah, he's exceptionally talented. It's just the fact that he plays on the Royals right now that nobody knows who he is. But he's if they get some buzz at all, you're going to hear this guy's name because he's got electric stuff.
They might. I don't. That lineup is like, they could.
As long as they bring up Bobby Witt at the beginning of the year, just start him. Screw service time. Just bring him up.
That infield is good. Like, that infield is really, really good. And
they have a lot of potential in their pitching as well. Like Brady Singer didn't have a great year last year, but
didn't they trade for someone notable too?
They traded a couple years back for Mike Minor, and they traded him away.
No, this was this offseason.
They signed Zach Greinke.
Oh, well, yeah, that was one. That's probably the one I was thinking about, actually. I'm trying to pull it up really quick without ruining the pod. Yeah, I don't remember. All right, continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Oh, I was thinking of Amir Garrett. That's 100% who I was thinking of. And not that he moves the needle all that much, but that's the trade I was thinking of, just because I recognized Amir Garrett's name.
The Royals are just interesting. If their starting pitching potential can be reached, I think that they're going to have a chance to be good. It's a lot of raw talent that just needs to be refined.
What's, like, in the little off topic here, but what's their, assuming they call up Bobby Witt, like, what's their lineup look like? Do they have Mondesi DHing for them all of a sudden? Because you have Nicky Lopez. I guess Whit Merrifield could go to the outfield. I don't know. It's just, I'm curious to see how they deploy it.
I would think they'd want to put Mondesi in the field. He's got some good fielding ability.
Right. I only
this
go to him
Carlos
because
Santana,
he's been hurt so DH. Much. Yeah, that's true. Then who plays first?
Hunter Dozier, because they gave him a stupid contract.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah. That was one of those. They had him. That was one of those contracts that didn't work out. The buyout, like Acuna and
Scott Kingery.
Yeah, there's another one that didn't work.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was reliever
that one
talk.
I really don't understand.
That was reliever talk, and we ended it by talking about offensive players. So
yeah, doing a good job.
Great job here on Half Street High Heat. But that wraps ranking season. Always a lot of fun. It was meant to just fill time during the off season, but here we are, just over a week away from opening day, wrapping up the ranking season, and it's exciting because right around the corner, looking ahead, just on the horizon for our future episodes, we're going to have our season predictions episode coming up here shortly. And this is good preparation for some of our Cy Young predictions, maybe, some other potential predictions as well. So I'm glad we did this, boys. Like, this was good stuff. And Trey, thank you so much for obviously putting together these YouTube videos. They're awesome.
Oh yeah, dude, this was fun. This was really fun.
Killing it. I'm very sorry Ryan has been stealing all your lines all night long. But
well, I mean, it was just that one, but I just really wanted to say it.
All right. That does it for this episode, and a nice, neat bow on ranking season. Thursday, we will have a NL East preview episode. We interviewed personalities, podcasters, reporters from all NL East opponents. So we'll have kind of like a mosh pit, eclectic episode there for you, and a good deep dive of all of our NL East opponents. And then next week we'll be doing our, specifically Nats breakdown. We're going to hit it hard. Probably have a couple interviews with, some familiar voices, familiar interviews that we've had on the show before, to really get a deep dive into what to expect from the Nats once we hear, the final opening day roster and stuff like that. So that will be coming next week. And then again, like I mentioned, we'll have a season predictions episode in there as well, because that's always one of the best episodes of the year. But be on the lookout for that and some other exciting announcements coming from Half Street High Heat here as we approach opening day. And be sure to check out the Twitter, as we have the Elite Eight currently going on for our Jersey Madness bracket. There's still 2 Nats participants in there. The Expos Baby Blues and the Nationals Navy alternates from the World Series run are still alive in the Elite Eight. They might be getting the home field advantage boost, but they are alive nonetheless. So be sure to go vote in that poll as well. And if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you haven't checked out our YouTube page yet, be sure to hit that bell and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Guys, you got anything else before we head out?
No, I think I'm good this time.
No
sir.
quip about the Nats and their their odds.
No, they don't deserve my energy for a quip right now.
We love that energy. We love that energy.
That energy.
They don't deserve you. They don't deserve you, King. All right. Well, be sure to follow both Ryan and Trey on Twitter at We Are All Shack and at Reverse 2 R's 2 S's, and myself at Nats Moose, and the show at Half Street High Heat. And check out halfstreethighheat.com. All the latest blogs, articles, all the good stuff. Monty has been killing it, and the writing team has been killing it all off season long. Even when there was nothing to talk about, they've been killing it. So kudos to them, and be sure to check that out, because there's a lot of great stuff. But in the meantime, thank you guys for listening. Again, Thursday will be our NL East preview episode. We appreciate you listening. Baseball is right around the corner. Hang in there. The Nats may suck, but baseball doesn't. All right, guys. Talk to you later.